The image component allows you to display both static and dynamic images within your tools. Let's go ahead and add an image component and look at a very simple example. If you only want to show a static image, what you can do is go into the image URL and simply paste the link in here. The image component will also allow you to display images from a private S3 bucket if you've connected one to internal. To do so, simply select the correct Amazon S3 credentials from the list below once you've connected your data source, and this will allow you to display those images within your internal tool. Now, let's add a table so we can look at how to create inline images within that table. Let's go to our images data source, and for a function, we're going to list our listing images. Let's hide row number and ID. We don't need those for now. And you'll notice that we have a link field that contains the image URL. So let's go ahead and add an inline image. And for the URL, the easy thing to do is just insert a variable and point it at the link field by going to this row, data, and selecting link. And you can see once we do that, all of the images populate within our table. Now let's take a look at how to make a dynamic image based on user interaction. To do this, let's first add a table. Let's choose the demo database, and let's have it list our image submissions record. So this is a table that the user will select in order to display our particular image. So what you'll notice is that there is a field called image file, and in this field you'll see image file names, and these are all files that are hosted on our own private S3 bucket. So the next thing that we want to do is add our image component. Let's add it over here. And so for the URL, we'll use a template. First, we're going to include the static portion of the link. This points us at our Amazon S3 bucket. And then to complete the URL, what we're going to do is we're going to choose the table, the selected row, and then the image file column. We'll give this a title, which is the image submission. And since this is in our Amazon S3 bucket, we need to make sure to sign our image here. So now let's take a look at this in action. You'll see that whenever we click on a row in this table, our image component is updated to then display that corresponding image. Let's go back and do the same thing, but this time, let's not use a table to fill in the image URL. Let's show how we can grab it directly from the data itself. Let's create a secondary image component here. And this time, we're going to pull from a source. We're going to choose the same demo database. We're also going to choose list image submissions records. I'm going to fill in that same URL template. But this time when we go to insert a variable, what we're going to choose actually is we're going to refer back to this image, the data that this image is pulling from our demo database. And within that data, we're going to want to use the image file. Now, one thing that we're going to need is a way to specify which record's image file value should be used. You know, there are a lot of different records and each has a different file name associated. So what we can do is go create a dropdown. And within this dropdown, we're actually also going to have it come from our demo database. And what we want to display for each option here is we're going to use this option, the data within each, and we're going to use the submitter. And we're going to do that same thing for the value per the option. So what this is going to do is create a dropdown with all of the various submitters in our data here. And then we go back to this image and we say, okay, I'm going to create a filter that's going to determine which record we should use. And so we're going to actually match up the submitter here. We're going to have it come from that dropdown, so we're going to make it equal to a component value. And we're going to select the image submissions dropdown here and the value there as well. Again, we'll need to go down and sign our image using our Amazon S3 bucket credentials. But once we do that and go ahead and publish our tool, and we take a look, you'll see that just selecting a submitter's name will pull up the corresponding image here in our second image component as well. And so this image component is pulling the data directly from the data source, as not utilizing this table at all, whereas clicking on this table we'll choose the corresponding image for that image component. That's it. Those are the basics of how to use an image.